From Atlantic City, welcome to the David Spatz Show. Brought to you by Merv Griffin's Resorts, Atlantic City's #1 casino hotel. Now, David Spatz.
Well, if you're looking at the picture and saying, hey, that's Tony Bennett, you're partially right. That is Tony Bennett. But we're also looking at someone who is now a style. Hi, everyone. We're backstage at Merv Griffin's Resorts, and Tony Bennett's going to talk to us about being in style when we come back right after this.
Now, this isn't quite right. Patrick, come here and help me out for a minute. Resorts has
personality.
Merv's personality.
Smile
with personality.
Star
with personality.
Show
with personality.
Food
with personality. Merv wants you to come and see.
Oh, come on, Pat. I get to do the solos.
Our personality.
And welcome back. We're in dressing room A at Merv Griffin's Resorts, and Tony Bennett joins us back for yet another round. Good to see you again.
Good to see you again.
Welcome back. I mentioned at the top of the show that you were not just Tony Bennett the singer, but you are now Tony Bennett a style. And proof of that is a Sunday piece in the Philadelphia Inquirer last week, full cover, and it wasn't the entertainment section, it was the style section.
Wow.
What does this mean to you?
Well, it's inspiring, you know, because this whole new lift of getting the MTV crowd, you know, it was unheard of for 35 years. There was this big, gigantic generation gap between the parents and young people. So I was on the ledger with, you know, with a lot of what they would call old timers,
right.
You know, people that wore tuxedos and.
But that didn't bother you necessarily, though, did it? I mean,
no,
that was the
because
generation
I've always been sold out. Those group of fans have kept me sold out for 45 years all over the world. So they're wonderful. And but I was always trained to play to the whole family. Sid Asher, he started me out as my first press agent, and in those days, Bob Whiteman and Nat Shapiro of the Paramount Theater, they actually told us as young performers, they said, don't work to an age group, you know, sing to the whole family. Because in the morning we'd have the teenagers, in the afternoon the senior citizens, and in the evening we had the young married couples and young lovers. So by the end of the day we played to the whole family. Said, make sure you do songs that everybody in the whole family likes. And then it changed. In the 50s it changed to a demographic group, the Beatle era and the whole thing. And
But
the
you
baby
never,
boom.
But you never really succumbed to that, though. You
no,
still
I
played.
I just trusted the whole family. I mean, it's just common sense that the old timers knew what they were doing. If you play to the whole family, if something hits and it becomes in style, then the whole family likes it, and it's that bigger a business. I mean, it's just we're in show business. I mean, if you hit and the whole family likes it, it's better than just one group.
All right, I'm going to relate a story to you that's very, very true, and it involves. One of my closest friends from college who called me, lives out in L.A., called me about 6 months ago, right after you had done that alternative music tour, and said his 16-year-old son went and saw the show. Where was it, the Hollywood Bowl?
Yes,
okay.
It was at the Universal
Amphitheater. Okay. He saw the show and said his son came home and he said, well, what do you think of the show? And he said, Dad, Tony Bennett, and I don't even know if I can say this, but they'll fix it in post-production. He said, Dad, Tony Bennett. And my friend said, yeah, he said, Tony Bennett kicks ass. Now, this is from a 16-year-old.
Well, you know, what's wonderful about that, what I love about it, is that I think it's the first time that I'm doing something, I'm really contributing here. I mean, what I like is it's getting the family together. I mean, usually the young people just go yuck to anything the parents like.
Yeah,
and it's really a terrible, rude thing. You know, it's nice if the family gets together. It's you know, instead of split families, which have been, you know, it's an epidemic. You know, of families that break up.
Right.
And kids that run away from homes and stuff. All of a sudden, here I come along and have this workout. What a wonderful lift that is for me personally to know that I'm a person that is a catalyst, that makes a parent get along with they agree with the young people. The young people agree with their parents about something. I think that's terrific, and I think, it would be a prayer to me to have them really enjoy music and movies and all together.
Could we
the
be
families should be together.
Could we be hearing Tony Bennett, pop psychologist here? It's
Hey, that's a good
almost.
phrase.
Pop
It is.
psychologist.
Well, it's the first time in 35 years that they've agreed on the type of music. There were a lot of family arguments where the parents would say, you don't know what you don't know what you're missing by not listening to Sinatra or Nat Cole,
And you know what?
or a Stan Kenton or a Woody Herman or a Duke Ellington or Count Basie.
I escaped that. I grew up in the 60s, and I was into the Beatles and the Stones and everything, but I was also exposed to your music, Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., the people who sang the good songs. So I developed an appreciation for that. But now I find myself in a position where I've lost touch with the music that my 13-year-old son is listening to, which sounds, to me, so bad that it makes those rock songs I listen to sound like classical music.
Well, not really. It's not as good as Cole Porter or Gershwin or Harold Arlen. It's just not. I mean, it's.
No, you're.
I'm being
right.
real. I'm being realistic
no,
now.
you are
Okay?
being realistic. Nobody is writing.
I asked Jimmy Durante years ago. I said, "What do you think of rock music?" He says, "They play 3 chords and 2 of them are wrong."
The last time I saw you was New Year's Eve. We worked together on Merv's New Year's Eve special, and you were warm inside, and I was freezing outside.
You had the snowball
but I had
going.
a snowball on the boardwalk. But I was inside long enough to hear you telling Merv during rehearsal that you had just found out about the MTV Unplugged thing. Did you know then that you were going to be doing it with Elvis Costello and Katie Lang?
No, I had no idea it would get that
Evidently.
reaction. It's amazing. When you see this thing in May, if you get a chance, you won't believe the audience reaction. It's the best audience I ever had.
Well, how did that combination evolve? I mean,
Well, first of all,
Dando
Katie Lang and I, that was the showstopper.
Right.
Now, that gal knows how
You
to
did
sing.
Moonglow, right?
Yeah, and the gal knows how to sing real good. I mean, she's in the Bing Crosby tradition. She's one of those singers that's destined to become just a magnificent, permanent singer. She's not going to be a flash in the pan. She'll be around. She's a wonderful singer, and we were so relaxed. She had me so relaxed. It was the smoothest I ever felt singing a duet.
Really?
Oh,
Do
absolutely.
you like singing duets?
I love them if it's right. Yeah, I don't like them when it isn't right. When you have to move around the furniture to make it work. But with her, it just got into a mellow repose, and it just stopped the show.
Right, but what about like Evan Dando from the Lemonheads? I mean, these are. I'll be honest with you. I had never heard of these groups before.
I haven't either.
Jay Mass is from Dinosaur
He's a
Jr.
good kid. They're all good kids. They're all good. Don't forget, when Sid Asher started me out years ago, I was just as nervous as they were. You got to understand, and thank God for the public. They can spot something. Everybody keeps saying the audience has a 14-year-old level. I don't believe in. I've never believed in that. That's why I never sing cheap songs. But they can spot somebody if there's a quality in them, even if they're amateurish. It doesn't matter. They could see if someone's got something, and they'll be patient with you. They'll make you. They'll encourage you. They'll make you. And then when you finally calm down, it takes about 10 years.
Okay.
Because it's a pressure. When you first start and you hit stardom, you get into a panic. Any good performer does before they hit the stage. So imagine someone who's still not sure what they have to do when they get on the stage. So thank God for them being patient, and that's how I feel about these young people that I performed with. They have it. They all have it, and they just need encouragement.
And were you there to provide that encouragement and also some direction for them?
I didn't have to direct.
Really?
I wasn't a school teacher about it. I mean, they have their thing, and I just let them do their thing. I made sure that they felt comfortable, and of course, now the young people just adore them. So they have a great following, and they were being cheered and hailed.
A few weeks ago we were talking to Tony Newley, and he has the complete opposite opinion that you seem to have about modern music. There's almost an anger there because Tony went and wrote a song called White Boy, in which he literally says, "I want my music back." Do you
White
feel
Boy?
Yeah, it's called.
What does it mean?
It's a song that it puts down rap.
Well, I don't blame him.
Okay.
No, but when he says white boy, I mean, that's strange because to me, I've always felt funny about rock because it's really white music.
Mm-hmm.
It's not black music. You know, black music is not rap either. You know, real black music is the greatest cultural contribution that's ever been made to the United States, and that is Louis Armstrong, Count Basie, Duke Ellington, Oscar Peterson, Art Tatum, Ben Webster, you know, all the great, Lester Young, you know, these were great jazz artists. The jazz
Can we add Ella
artists.
Fitzgerald just to make me
Well,
feel
Ella's right on top. She's the queen of them all. I mean, you know, I just generalized. I was just trying to show that there is this wonderful, there was a halcyon period of jazz that were from the late 20s to the 30s to the 40s, and then it kind of drifted off into the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
But then it kind of stopped because of the age. But that was, boy, that was, I mean, that's where the young people is just regretful that they don't know that the amount of artists that were fantastic. They were all individuals. They were all contributory to the greatest music that's ever come out of America. Because they did, what they created was an extended improvisation. It's always been in classical music where early Bach or Beethoven, you would have little interludes to say and tell an instrument, improvise here. But no one ever took it and made a whole thing improvised, a whole chorus, you know, a whole song, a whole performance, all improvised. And it was the only thing that, when it all is said and done with our tradition in the United States, it's the only thing that has ever been culturally original for the United States. The only thing we've ever contributed to the world is this jazz music. And it's a shame that rap and even commercial gospel, not religious gospel, not the Abyssinian choir or someone fantastic like that, but the commercial gospel and rap is really, it's really back to Uncle Tom. It's not.
You feel that way too. A
Uncle
lot
Tom.
of people are starting to feel
It's
that
Uncle
way.
Tom. There's no melody. You know, they asked me about rap when I won the Grammy the second time. They said, "What do you think of rap?" And I said, "Well, I'm a melody man. I'm waiting for the second note." They all sing one note. You know, even though they're making social statements, I don't put it all down, as long as they don't get too outrageous. But I'd much rather have a verbal war than a physical war.
Oh, anytime.
You know,
Any-
so at least they're
anytime.
talking about social injustice a lot of time, and some of them are making some pretty good statements.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I just think they should. I like the way Duke Ellington writes. I mean, he wrote melodies that are haunting and touch you emotionally.
Right. And there were words that also,
Oh yeah,
you know, felt the same
Billy
way.
Strayhorn,
Right.
yeah, you know, and George and Ira Gershwin, and wow, Yip Harburg, and great Johnny Mercer, you know, great lyric writers. Wonder when the bells ring for me, and someone tugs a heartstring for me. When does it come my time? When does the poem rhyme? When do the songs they sing for me? To those who say, hey, wake up and feel life, I say I'm ready. Show me the way. Show me those arms that say, welcome to real life. And I'll stay. I'll stay. How many parties more can I run to? How many little loves can there be before it's all a bore? Forget it, I want more. I want someone.
Who do you like today as a lyric writer? Is there anyone out there?
Yeah, I like Marilyn Allen and Bergman. Marilyn Allen Bergman, you know, Marilyn Bergman. They write with Michel Legrand and Johnny Mandel. There's some good songwriters around today. They just don't get played on the radio. Even Richard Rodgers doesn't get played on the radio.
Tony, your last two albums, Steppin' Out, which was a tribute to Fred Astaire, and before that, a year before that, Perfectly Frank, which was your Valentine to Mr. Sinatra. Both albums, through the roof, platinum each, over 1 million copies sold on each unit, and yet it didn't get the airplay that a lot of today's songs get, does it?
No, but people bought the records. I mean, my sales are just going through the roof now.
Now, that's amazing, though, because they say that you're only as good as your last big record, and records have to be played on the radio to be sold, but you've...
No, I've had too many big records in the past. I mean, you know,
right.
Another generation way back, you know, I had, you know, so many hit songs, it was unbelievable.
Do you ever get tired of them, singing them?
No,
you never get tired
because
of
I
singing
never
San
sang a
Francisco?
bad song. Oh, no. Do you get tired of making love?
How many times have you asked that question? No, so that's, in other words, it's to you, that
No,
song
you
is a
see,
beautiful person.
Yeah,
a
well,
beautiful
don't
woman.
forget, it's made me a world citizen. It's my signature song. And
Right.
I never sing a song unless I really like it. You know, you should see the producers. They tell gags about it. Donnie Einer over at Sony Columbia now. He even told me just as recent as yesterday, he said, you son of a gun, he said, you turned down every producer's ideas, he said, and you still made it, you know, without, because I never compromise. If they, you know, it's almost legendary in the business, and I'm not saying that egotistically, but people have actually offered me $100,000 if you do a certain novelty song or something, and I say, no, you do it. Because I just want my catalog to be, I never want to cheat the public. I want to give them an honest performance.
Well,
and
you
I
don't
only
want to cheat
sing the
yourself
best
either.
songs. Well,
You don't
that's
wanna
it.
cheat
You have,
yourself.
I had good training. I had good teachers that told me how to sing. And if something does fit into that groove, it's not their opinion. They're experts. They were experts. The American theater wing. I was in the infantry in the Second World War. When I came out, I joined the GI Bill of Rights. And they gave me the greatest school that I could ever dream of to make up the time I lost in the Army. And in France and Germany. When I came back out, I went to the American Theater Wing. And the school was so good, it became the Actors Studio.
Amazing. Before I let you go, I've got to ask you, we got to go back to this thing about style and the young audiences. Would it be fair to say that your son, Danny, had a big hand in kind of saying, hey, Dad, why don't you steer down this road? Let's explore this.
Well, absolutely. I had no idea what he was doing. He had me on SCTV, and then I did the first Simpsons. And then after that...
Did you think he was nuts and you just played along with it?
At first, you know, when he had me on David Letterman for about 5 or 6 times, I finally said, what are you doing? I mean, I usually work the Hollywood Bowl or, you know, the Carnegie Hall in New York or the Academy of Music in Philadelphia, you know, these great gambling casinos here in this town, Atlantic City, you know, and Vegas. And I said, what the heck are you doing? He said, just trust me. He says, I know something you don't. And he did. And that was that there was a large young audience that thought I was cool.
Did he ever think you were cool? When he was growing up, when he was the age of the Generation X kids, did he think Dad was cool?
Well, no, he knew I was, he always saw me successful. He's never seen me where I wasn't successful. But, you know, he was with rock groups and all this and went that way, you know.
So he's come back into the fold.
Well, no, you know, it's not back in the fold. He likes all kinds of music. He's into all kinds of stuff.
All right. So where do you go from here? What's next? You've done the Astaire album. You've done the Sinatra album. Who or what do you go to next?
Well, you know, it goes on and on. When you get on a roll like this is like what the sports figures call a zone. You know, I'm in a zone right now. Everything is where every day. I just had a conversation with my son and my agent from William Morris, Rob Heller, and they were just saying it's unbelievable because every day, first of all, I got a contract from Word Perfect, you know, the computer company, and then you know, Martini and Rossi, you know, the liquor company, you know, so all these records that the movie companies are calling me up to do. There's a big love story this year, tremendous big love story that's coming out that. They want me to sing Irving Berlin's Always. And it's going to be a very, very big movie. So, and then I'm doing The Scout with Albert Brooks, the wonderful cameo comedy part. And then Burt Reynolds put me on his show. And So all these things just flowing every day. There's these commercials coming in, and
You're supposed to be retiring, you know.
yeah, I'm supposed to be retiring.
Right.
I'll be so busy next year I won't even know what my name is.
You're not ready to retire, though.
Oh, no. Performers, creative people should never retire. You know, it's only someone behind the desk that really is honorable enough to make a living and sacrifice his free time so he could raise his family properly. But a performer has always got creative ideas. My heroes are George Burns and the late Fred Astaire and Bing Crosby when they were around, and Count Basie and Duke Ellington. They were swinging right till the day they died. Picasso, Pablo Casals, they just kept working right till the day they died.
Artists.
Yeah, artists, they're just creative. They wake up in the morning and say, I have a nice idea, I'm going to try it.
Well, I think we can wrap the whole thing up in a line that was spoken by Sarah Vaughan a few years ago before she died. Sarah said, and I think this relates perfectly to you with your 3 or 4 generations of fans. Sarah said the trick about show business is to stay with it long enough to be discovered.
Yeah.
And I would say that you've certainly fulfilled that.
Well, thanks.
Tony,
Thank
thanks
you
so much
very
for
much.
being
It's a
with
very
us.
nice interview.
Take care.
Thanks.
Be back with our calendar segment right after this.
Sing for me. To those who say, hey, wake up and feel life, I say I'm ready. Show me the way. Show me those arms that say, welcome to real life. And I'll stay. I'll stay. How many parties more can I run to? How many little loves can there be before it's all a bore? Forget it, I want more. I want someone who wants more of me. Like making promises good in the daylight. The thing is, here am I. Where is she? When is it my chance? When is it my dance? When do the bells ring for me?
Well, if you're going to be visiting Atlantic City next weekend, you can catch an entertainer who's right out of the Tony Bennett generation, the other great saloon singer of all time. Frank Sinatra is back at the Sands 4 nights, Thursday through Sunday of next week. They say it's sold out. You can always try calling the box office the day you want to go see him, and chances are there might be a stray ticket or 2 available. Now, over at Caesars, comedian Rita Rudner has teamed up with entertainer Clint Holmes. They'll be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. And over at Harrah's, it's comedian Freddie Roman co-starring with our very own former Miss America, Suzette Charles. They'll be in the Showcase of Stars series. And that just about does it for this week's show. I'm David Spatz. For all of us here at the show, for Tony Bennett and everybody here at Resorts, thanks so much for being with us. And we leave you now with a song that's quite appropriate under today's weather conditions. Here's Tony Bennett and A Foggy Day. We'll see you next week, everyone.
The David Spatz Show has been brought to you by Merv Griffin's Resorts, Atlantic City's #1 casino hotel.
A foggy day in London town. It had me low, had me down. Of you in the morning with much alarm. The British Museum had lost its charm.
how long I wonder could this dream last? But the age of miracles hadn't passed, for suddenly I saw you standing there, and in foggy London town the sun was shining.